They're twisting the text. They are trying to conceal its true meaning. We've heard, but their edits are shallow. The truth will out someday.
Peace of the Lord to all of you. Welcome to the Great Islam Quiz. So, how well do you think you know Islam? We're going to find out. You can actually play from home. If you're watching this live, you can actually leave the answers in the live chat so that we make sure that you are not cheating. And if you are watching this later, also please do not cheat. There's going to be a lot of questions which are um, trick questions, like to a degree, but we're going to show you sources and stuff. This is inspired by the conversations that I've had with Muslims in the past, where I ask some things that are very basic about their traditions, and they wouldn't know. So we're going to go through a lot. These questions are some of them very, very easy, like the very first one, and some of them are going to be very, very difficult. So let's see how you do. And again, no cheating. I am pretty sure as well that Muslims are not going to do very well with this quiz because, well, you will see, it's not the sort of things that the Imams would tell them. Normally, they would let them figure these things out themselves. And if they then go to the Imams and say, hang on a minute, I didn't know this doesn't look good, they would get humiliated by their Imams or Sheikhs saying, how did you not know this? Oh, you should have known this. This sort of things happens a lot. So anyway, without further ado, let's begin. First question is, how many times is Muhammad mentioned by name in the Quran? Now, before we put the possible answers here on screen, bear in mind that when we look at the Old Testament, Moses is mentioned over 700 times. That's a little bit of a clue there for you. And when we look at the New Testament, Jesus is mentioned over 900 times. So, with that in mind, how many times is Muhammad mentioned by name in the Quran? A, 4 times. B, 40 times. C, 400 times. D, 4,000 times. Obviously, just an approximate answer to the closest shown here on screen. So here we go. Answer revealed in 3, 2, 1. Boom. 4 times the name Muhammad is mentioned in the book. Now, I have asked numerous times to AI, like, how many Muslims know that the Arabic only mentions Muhammad 4 times? Mm? And normally, what I get from AI is a very small number. It's an estimation, but probably between 5 and 10%. So the chances are, if you're a Muslim and you're watching this, you got this one very, very wrong. Anyone who is thinking, no, hang on a minute, it's 5 times, because it also mentions Ahmad. Ahmad is not Muhammad. And we have said how many times Muhammad is mentioned by name. Mm? Now, you should realize that if it only appears 4 times, there is a big problem there. And that's something that we discuss here on the channel all the time. So, these are the 4 instances there in the Arabic, because if I show you the English, you will see how they will insert the name a lot, sometimes in brackets by writing O Muhammad, and sometimes no brackets at all. They will just actually put the name and move on. But these are the only 4 places where the name appears. Did you get that one right? Let's move on. Let's see. So, what was Aisha doing when she was taken to Muhammad for marriage? A. She was playing with dolls. B. She was taking her driving license. C. She was wrestling a bear. Or D. She was studying for her PhD. So, 3 seconds, 2, 1, and playing with dolls. Did you know this one? It's kind of an easy one. Probably you've seen some hadiths. Just like these ones, there will be others where it will mention that she was actually playing with dolls. Very soon, we're going to have a conversation about how the Imam Tawhidi, the Imam of Peace, actually challenges this and says, no, 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 she was not a child, she was not a child. Of course, he's a Shia, he's embarrassed about all of this, and because he's a Shia, he doesn't follow the Hadiths, which are the ones with information. So all of these Sahih Muslim and Sahih al-Bukhari, which says very clearly that she was a child, he can ignore because he's Shia, which is odd because the Shias don't really have any love for Aisha anyway. But anyway, we have it in their accounts that she was playing with dolls, she was with dolls, and in one as well that she was playing in the swings with friends. So there you go. All right. So according to Islam, who took Jesus's place on the cross? This should be an important one. After all, Islam appeared very quickly and took over a lot of Islamic lands. So the answer should be incredibly simple, right? So let's go. A. Was it Tatianos, according to Islam? B. Was it an apostle who took Jesus' place? C. Was it a gentleman called Joshua ibn Pandera? Or D. Was it all of the above? So let's go. What do you think? Put the comments in your answer in the live chat. And 3, 2, 1, you are right, unless you were wrong. It's all of the above. In fact, there are lots of different accounts as to what happened on the cross, because they spent many hundreds of years trying to come up with an excuse as to what the Quran actually said. If you want more details, we do have this video here on the channel where we go through lots of the tafsirs and hadiths, and not hadiths on this one, actually, we go through Al-Tabari. So there you go, lots and lots of multiple different explanations of who was on the cross. Next, this should be as well an easy one for people who are familiar with the historical critique of Islam, which is, when was the Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem built? Now, to give a little bit of context, the Quran in Surah 17 verse 1 says, exalted is he who took his servant by night from the Masjid al-Haram to the Masjid al-Aqsa. And that for over 1,000 years has been exegeted as Muhammad flying during the night journey on the Burak. This is a flying mystical beast from Mecca to Jerusalem. So then he flew at one point to the Masjid al-Aqsa. When was it built? According to the Islamic sources. Not according to the Islamic sources, actually. This is according to the historical accounts. Sorry, I got that one wrong. So A, it was built 1600 years before Muhammad flew from the Masjid al-Haram to the Masjid al-Aqsa. Or was it B? It was built 1,000 years before Muhammad flew from the Masjid al-Haram to the Masjid al-Aqsa. Or was it built 500 years before the so-called night journey? Or was it built 80 years after the night journey? So here we go. 3, 2, 1. It was built after. This is one of these big problems with Islam that reveals that the Quran told a very different story, and then they had to build, or rather they didn't have to build, but they did build things in the real world in order to say, oh, you see, what our book says is right. Back in the day, people didn't know when the Masjid al-Haram or the Masjid al-Aqsa were built, so you could lie to people in that manner. But now we are in the 21st century and we have the receipts. The Masjid al-Aqsa was in fact built. Most likely it was started construction during the reign of Abdul Malik, and then it was concluded during the time of his successor, Al-Walid I. Between 705 and 715, very often the date is given around 709. So as you can see, the book mentions a place that is not created in history until many decades after the time when it was supposed to take place. even though the whole flying on a burak should be a very clear indication that the whole thing is just fabricated much later. But anyway, did you get this one right? Are you up to date with your knowledge of the historical critique? Hmm? Let's see, because the next one is going to be about Mecca, the most important city in the whole of Islam. How many times is Mecca mentioned directly by name in the Quran? Think about it. For about, what was it, 12 years, Muhammad was preaching in Mecca. And then the night journey, the Hijrah, which we'll discuss in a minute, and he went to Yathrib, which was renamed to Medina, the city of the Prophet. So then he spent about 10 years preaching from Medina until he returned as a conquering king to Mecca, right? So, such an important city, central to the whole story of Islam. They claim that it was the oldest city ever because it was there from a really long time. And Abraham and Ishmael, they built the Kaaba and so on. So, how many times does the name Mecca appears in the Quran? A, 0 times. B, once. C, 5 times. Or D, more than 10 times. So, what do you think? Cast your answers. And here we go. 3, 2, 1, 1. Only once. In the whole Quran, the most important city that you would expect it to be mentioned a lot. And it only appears here in Surah 48, verse 24. We have unpacked a lot about this surah, and we will do more in the future. So make sure that you like, subscribe, and so on, so that you are informed and notified when we are going to talk more about this very important surah that reveals just so much. Did you know that Makkah only appears once? There is another mention in the Quran that says Bakka, and they say, well, Bakka means Makkah and it's the same. No, Makkah, it only appears once. Bakka is something different, has different rasam. Okay, these are how they have exegeted things in order to put Makkah in a location rather in the real world. Remember as well, we've seen that the Masjid al-Aqsa was built 80 years later, after the time of Muhammad. Makkah is not actually mentioned in the historical account until the 8th century. So I think the first mention of this outside of the Quran is in the middle of the, I think it's middle of the 8th century. So about 100 years, nearly 100 years after the time of Muhammad, which should make you realize that there is always more to this story and that they are hiding a lot of stuff. So far, we've had quite a few questions. How well are you doing? Let's carry on. Next. So, according to the Quran, how many messengers made things halal and haram? Made things lawful and unlawful. So, is it A, 0 messengers made things lawful and unlawful? Or was it 1 messenger? Was it 2 messengers? Or was it more than 2 messengers? Maybe we need to think about this a little bit, think about the verses that talk about making things lawful and unlawful, and cast your answers. 3, 2, 1. The answer is just 1 messenger is ever mentioned to make things lawful and unlawful. This person happens to be Jesus. So in Surah 350, it makes it very clear Jesus is speaking and saying that, and I have come, that is not in the Arabic, but it follows through from the previous sentence, confirming what was before me of the Torah, and to make lawful for you some of what was forbidden to you, right? And then something very similar happens in Surah 757, which of course it is exegeted as being about Muhammad, or follow the messenger, the unlettered prophet who they find in the Torah and the Injil, and so on. Now, we have discussed this on the channel many times, and our live stream on the 2nd of January 2026, it explained this fully. This verse has nothing to do with Mohammed. It was a description of Jesus. And you can see in here that it says that this messenger enjoys upon them what is right and forbids them what is wrong, and makes lawful for them the good things and prohibits for them the evil. So the same character, Jesus, in both these verses, and those are the only verses in the Quran that say that a messenger is making things lawful and unlawful, which is unthinkable in Islam because, according to Islam, only Allah can make things lawful and unlawful, except that the Quran very clearly disagrees with that doctrine. So, did you get this one right? Let's carry on. Ooh, nice. So, what was the gap between Muhammad and Al-Qurtubi? Al-Qurtubi is one of the commentators of the Quran and one of the favorite ones. There are many names that you hear all the time, like Ibn Abbas. Sorry, and Al-Qurtubi is one of them, one of the favorite go-to scholars for commentary. So, how close was Al-Qurtubi to Muhammad? Let's see. Were they about 20 years apart? Or B, were they about 100 years apart? Or C, were they approximately 300 years apart? Or D, were they more than 600 years apart? So cast your answers, and here we go. 3, 2, 1. More than 600 years. This is something that Muslims will never consider, like how long there was the difference between the time of Muhammad and the people explaining the religion to them. And everything just comes so very late. But 600 years, ooh, let's have a look. It says ChatGPT sometimes is going to be like this, like Wikipedia. So I just didn't update the robot. So we have here Al-Qurtubi, who lived in the 13th century. So it's been a while, right? Between the 600s of Muhammad and the 1200s. Wow. Hmm? That's the guy that you go to for the explanation of Islam. Incredible. So, another question about the Quran. How many times does the Quran mention the word jizya? Think about it. If you go to places like Al-Tabari, the history of Al-Tabari, you will see that everything was about the jizya. All of these early Muslims, they go to all of these different castles and lands, and they always say the same thing. Hey, join us, become a dhimmi, or we fight you. Okay, so basically, join us, give us the jizya, or we're going to fight you and you are in trouble. And that happens all the time. If you go to Al-Tabari, you will see that. And even to this day, it's a very popular word. Every single Muslim is looking forward to a time when they have conquered the world and they don't have to do anything because the non-Muslims will be paying the jizya. So, how many times such an important word appears in the Quran? Is it 0 times? Is it once? Is it 5 times? Or is it more than 10 times? So think about it. You can think about the closest possible answer, the closest possible number to the answers shown on screen. And here we go now. Just once. So jizya is only mentioned once, such an important word. Right in here. I have actually marked it this time in English because they don't even translate it, of course, because it doesn't have a translation. What is interesting is that the Arabic says something like they give jizya about hand. That would be the literal translation, which confuses everybody. There are plenty of things like this in the Quran. We have a similar problem with the word huri, which didn't appear in the world until the Quran. The Quran appears first, and then there is a word, and it becomes huri, and it becomes what people get in paradise according to Islam. But that word didn't even exist before. So it's just kept in there like a hanging, like sticking out like a sore thumb, most likely because of misinterpretation or mistranslation. The same thing happens with Jizya, because it only appears once and the whole expression is very bizarre. You need to go to the exegete for people to say that it means what it says here. They give the jizya, which is the tax for not being a Muslim, willingly while they are humbled. It's like they literally have no idea what the Arabic says, so they exegete in a way that actually works for them. But it only appears once, seems to be a corrupted version of the word for tribute, and it's very, very dodgy indeed. And it's very difficult to figure out because it only appears once. If it appeared in many other places, we could figure out the original meaning, no problem. But that's one of the problems when we deal with Islam. So let's carry on. How many times does the Quran mention Tawheed? Now, Tawheed, important word. You would have heard this from Muslims all the time, and they will tell you that Tawheed means oneness, is the oneness of God. It's like, well, that's not what it means. Tawheed actually means unification. Okay. And in order to unify things, you need to have multiple ones. Is what happens with Islam. They tell you a word and then they tell you that it means something else. It's almost like an ongoing joke. And the Wagandists, now in the 21st century, they use this a lot. When they will say, oh, the Christianity, 1 + 1 = 1 = 1, everything is very complicated, and oh, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, oh. But in Islam, everything is so simple because we have Tawheed. Okay, is oneness, is one God, and it's like that is the selling point. Then when you go and speak to them about this, you realize that they have no idea what they are talking about, and they will then say, well, but Allah has attributes and it has hands, but also no hands. It's metaphorical. Everything is very complicated. Don't think about it. We cannot understand God, but the Trinity doesn't make sense. They will say that with, in the same breath. It's very funny. So such an important concept that for them is like one of the defining differences between um, Islam and certainly Christianity. How many times does the Quran talk about Tawheed? So 0 times, or just once, or about 5 times, or could it be more than 10 times? So what do you think? 3, 2, 1, 0. That's the answer. Tawhid doesn't even appear in the Quran. You probably have heard many times Christian apologists say this to the Wagandis when they say, but the Bible doesn't mention Trinity. And it's like, no, but the Trinity is described in there. The Quran doesn't mention Tawhid. So it's kind of like funny. Obviously, I don't have a reference for this one because it's not there. I cannot show you a verse in the Quran that doesn't say Tawhid because I would have to show you the whole book. Tawhid is not mentioned. So next, how many al-Zud men? No, we are not doing that one here. We are not going down the path of this sort of obscenity. Also, it doesn't say how many in the hadiths. So anyway, if you're expecting something very rude on this quiz, we are not doing that today. So this one should be very easy if you have been following the channel, because we've discussed this one recently. So according to Islam, why is Mary called sister of Aaron in the Quran? Is it A, because Mary was like Aaron in terms of worship? Is it B, because she was like Aaron in terms of chastity? Is it C, because she was from the tribe of Aaron? Or D, all of the above? So hopefully you all got this one right because it's been discussed recently. The answer is all of the above. There you go. In fact, there are lots of other explanations that the tafsir writers come up with in order to maintain the illusion But the Quran has no errors when you have something as basic as this. And on that particular show, we actually went through all of the hadiths, well, lots of the important hadith, a lot of the tafsirs, and we broke it down. So make sure if you haven't actually watched that, that you watch that video and you will see all of the different excuses that they have made in the tafsirs, particularly to explain away this very obvious error. And those three that we have discussed here on this quiz, they are included, but there is more, there is so much more. Right, let's carry on. According to Islam, how are babies made? Should have written according to the Quran, actually. So, is it A, Netflix and chill? Is it B, from a chicken egg? Is it C, babies are delivered by stork? Or is it D, babies are made from a liquid emanating from between the backbone and the ribs? So cast your answers. I think all of you must get this one right. Even the Muslims will know this one because it's right there in the Quran. From a liquid emanating from between the backbone and the ribs. And this will be the right verse to look for. Now, if you go online, you will see the very many hilarious excuses that uh, say Muslim apologists will actually come up with in order to explain this away, which is hilarious. This was never a problem for 1,000 years, and now you have these keyboard warriors explaining how, no, this makes perfect sense. Let me explain it to you. It's like you don't have to explain anything. The very clear book explains itself that it doesn't know how babies are made because that's not how it happens. But there are some cool explanations out there. I saw a video the other day of someone trying to explain that what it was saying is that man emanates from between the backbone and the ribs, which is wrong, but is still more directionally correct. And it is not the liquid that emanates from between the backbone and the ribs. In any case, this is most likely going to be a verse about the crucifixion and the blood gushing forth Jesus between the basically the backbone and the ribs, where he's actually pierced, and then blood and water flows through there, right? So it's more likely that, and it is mistranslated. We're investigating that. So hopefully we get an answer and we can show it to you in the very near future. Stay tuned. So let's carry on with more questions. So, according to the Quran, how long did it take Allah to create everything? Was it A, it was done instantly? Was it B, it took about 6 days? Is it C, it took 8 days? Or D, all of the above? So I'll give you a few extra seconds because you've probably heard some of these answers before, but not all of them. So you've got it? It's all of the above. Yeah, the obvious one, the one that everyone always discuss, is that the Quran says that everything was created in 6 days, that God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. And also in some verses, when you do a little bit of maths, you get to 8 days. So 2 days for the earth, then everything in it in 4 days, and then the heavens in 2 days. So there you have it. So that's 8, but the Quran also says 6. But also, and that's why I was being a little bit cheeky with this question, is that the Quran makes it very clear that when God creates something, all that he has to do is he says, be, and it is. And it's like, fair enough. So then creation should have been be, and it is just a little bit expanding the normal contradiction, which is between 6 days and 8 days, and just adding that extra spanner in the works. But there you have it. You're perfectly okay to just stick to the first two, which is one of those contradictions that people are not really using anymore that much. It used to be very popular 2 or 3 years ago. Well, As is how it is now, the Islamic dilemma is taking all of the time, I guess. Next, so according to the Quran, how much of an inheritance must be distributed, right? So somebody is going to pass away, somebody dies, and then they have to take the inheritance and divide it. And the Quran is very specific. You have a verse there that tells you you give this much to this person, and if you have kids, you give it this much. You know, it's a whole law system, right? So, how much of that inheritance of the deceased must you distribute? Is it A, 80% of the inheritance, with the other 20%, I don't know, going to the caliph or something? Is it B, 90%, with the other 10% going to taxation or something weird? Is it C, you must distribute 100% of the inheritance? Or is it D, you have to distribute 112.5% of the inheritance? So, what do you think? Remember, this is Islam we're talking about. So 3, 2, 1, you're right, it's 112.5%. So there are a number of videos explaining this. So if you want more details about that argument, which is actually, once again, not being used that much, probably because it requires to do some calculations when other arguments are a lot easier to present. But this used to be popular as well at one point, which is if you follow through what the Quran says, given the right circumstances, you end up distributing 112%, which of course says that these people were certainly not the guys who would get A plus in maths at school. And in order to solve this is actually just what Grok said, is this overage, known as OWL in Islamic jurisprudence, requires proportional reduction of shares to fit 100%, though the verses themselves do not explicitly address it. So very clearly, somebody that is not very good at maths makes a big boo-boo, showing that the maths are not mathing, and then you still maintain that in Islam because you know it comes from God, and you just have to adjust the numbers because you can never distribute more than 100%. Isn't that nice? If you didn't know this one, because it is not really used that much, make sure that you actually go and watch some videos where people are going to do um, the whole explanation using the numbers, and so that you can see it visually. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay, mathematical problem in the Quran. All right, so similar to a previous question, this time about Ibn Kathir. What was the gap between the time of Muhammad and Ibn Kathir? So Ibn Kathir is, of course, one of the go-to interpreters of the Quran. Everyone always quotes Ibn Kathir pretty much. I think he gets quoted more than even Ibn Abbas, and everybody likes him. It's almost like he had an answer for absolutely everything. And if you have been following the works of Usama Daktok, you would have seen, because he uses Ibn Kathir a lot, that this guy had read certainly quite a bit of the Bible and had been inspired by it, or rather copied from it. But still, this is one of the favorite commentators about the Quran. How long between the time of Muhammad and our friend Ibn Kathir? So, was he about 20 years apart from Muhammad? Or B, about 100 years apart? Or could he have been about 300 years apart from Muhammad? Or was it more than 600 years apart? So, cast your answers. What do you think is the gap between Muhammad and the go-to commentator of the Quran? Let's reveal it now. So once again, it's over 600 years. Let's get here a little bit of help from Wikipedia, telling you clearly that his dates were in the 14th century. Isn't that quite something? It's actually over 700 years between the time of Muhammad and the time of Ibn Kathir. So think about this. There, the time of Muhammad and the time of Jesus was closer than the time of Muhammad and Ibn Kathir. Think about the insanity of that. Hmm? And this is the guy everyone goes to get answers. Of course, if you've read his tafsirs, you will realize that he was very good at basically uh, just filling up those holes in the narrative. Although, except obviously you can't do it. The book told a very different story. But he was particularly skilled at going in there and just giving the excuses as much as possible. That's why it's one of the names that everyone knows nowadays, because he did a lot of work just doing that, trying to make the book divine. So you can just go to Ibn Kathir and he will still tell you that the Quran is divine. Mm? One of the problems as well is we don't have pretty much anything from his time, very little. So it does look like much of the stuff that is attributed to Ibn Kathir was much later creations and then attributed to him because he was so popular. But those studies will have to be done, over the next few decades by people who can actually analyze the language of the different interpretations or tafsirs from this guy and see if they were actually from the same guy or different ones. But it does look like it's going to be different ones. But anyway, this guy was very, very far removed from the time of Muhammad. Next. Oh, this is a little bit of history, and I hope that all of you get this one right. And if you don't get it right, well, shame on you, because it's one of the most important moments in our recent history. So in 2016, Hatun Tash and Jay Smith turned up at the Speaker's Corner with how many different Qurans? Hmm? Speaker's Corner, Hatun Tash, and Jay Smith. How many different Qurans? Did they turn up with 20 different Arabic Qurans? Or was it 26 different Qurans? Or was it 31 different Qurans? Or 37 different Qurans? Come on, you guys should know this one full well. And if you've been on the channel before, the outro is actually about this. So there you have it. It's 26. Obviously, Hatun Tash has managed to collect quite a few more since then. I think there was one video where she had, I think it was 38, 39, and I have no idea what is the current number, but let's say around 40. And those are printed by Islamic houses. They are actually, at one point, they were just accepted in the Ummah, and it is only in recent times when they've been telling every single Muslim that there is only one Quran, perfectly preserved, despite of every single person that even worked or even walked into a library before that time, they would have seen many different Qurans. And of course, there are many, many that have been lost and we will never have them. So we have to just be satisfied with the few dozens that we have only, because most of the other hundreds, they are now gone. Oh, well, so that's actually the event when it happened. And this should have gone around the world on that day. And for some reason, that we should all understand very well, the mainstream media did not pick this event up because it would upset Muslims, even though it would have prevented a lot of hardship for our Muslim friends and for everyone else. So how are you doing so far? Are you getting most of these answers correctly, or are you struggling? Hmm? Well, let's see if you get the next ones. According to Islam, how many different explanations of proofs are there? Now, this is related to the previous question. Muslims had been told there is only one Quran, and that was it. Obviously, Hatun Tash and J. Smith showed the world that that was not the case. Then, every Muslim was told very quickly that there is one hadith that tells Muhammad, saying that there were different recitations or modes, as it is often translated, called the ahrufs. As simple as that. So now we have all of these different readings, and we know that they must link somehow to Muhammad giving these 7 different ahrufs. So, in order for scholars, and this is Islamic scholars, to join what that hadith says about Muhammad saying the Quran in different ways, in different ahrufs, and becoming what the qira'ats have been, how many different explanations of what this ahruf thing is did we get from Islamic scholars? Did we get A, one explanation of what the ahrufs are? Or B, is it about 20? Or C, is it about 40? Or D, is it about 60? So let's have a look. And the answer is 40. 40 different explanations, which is quite hilarious if you think about it. Even Asim al-Hakim will have videos saying, I'm going to tell you what the ahrufs are. It's like what? He just reads the hadith and says, hey, look at the hadith. The hadith says that these people recited the Quran differently, but it was still the same Quran because 7 ahrufs. It's like, dude, there are many different opinions of what the ahrufs are. They don't have an answer. And the reason is because it was nothing but cope. It had nothing to do with the Quran being told in all of these different ways. But you can see here, and you can do a lot of work on this. I wouldn't recommend it because it's all cope. There are many different Qurans. They haven't been preserved. We have manuscripts and we have all of that good stuff. So we know it hasn't been preserved. Then on the other hand, we have one hadith that says, oh no, well, when there are problems with the recitations is because of this thing called ahrufs. It's cope. These things didn't happen. Okay, the book is just simply not preserved. It couldn't be preserved. It's actually very silly to think that it would. And this one hadith is trying to be used to confuse people even further. But even their own scholars have no idea what this ahruf thing actually is. It's quite hilarious. All right, so did you get this one right? I think hopefully you actually got this one right. If you've been following the conversations of Yasser Qadi, probably you have. So, very basic question. In what year was the Hijrah from Mecca to Medina? So, this should be a very easy one for everybody. Was it in the year 570? Was it in the year 610? Or was it in the year 622? Or was it in the year 632? So, easy one. I probably should have given this question at the very, very start because it is so basic and you should know it was in the year 622 after the first period of revelation in Mecca. According to the traditions, none of it happened, so don't get too upset. Muhammad moves from Mecca to Medina, and that's the year when it happened. According to the traditions, again, didn't happen, so don't worry. Now, how long did it take for the Quran to be revealed to Muhammad? Now, this is, I think, a very interesting question. You would think that every Muslim will know the answer to this, just like they should know that Muhammad is only mentioned 4 times, right? And you can test this at home. If you have any Muslim friends, just ask them the question, how long did it take for the Quran to be revealed to Muhammad? And let's see how many actually give you a straight answer. I would have thought it was a simple question until I asked Muslims and they couldn't give me an answer. That was bizarre. I was an atheist all of my life, and if somebody had asked me how long was the ministry of Jesus, I would have known, okay, 3 years. I don't know, I've seen the movies and I've heard people telling me these things. It's basic knowledge. So the final revelation, Muslims should know how long it took. So how long was it? A, it was revealed instantly. B, it was revealed over 23 years. C, it was revealed over 22 years. Or D, it was revealed over 20 years. Ooh. So, what do you think? There's only one answer, right? Well, let's reveal it in 3, 2, 1. Actually, all of them. This is just interesting. I mean, if you speak with a Muslim, the correct answer will be 23 years, and that's what they will say. If they know about it, they will say it's 23 years, and that's that. That is the accepted answer. However, you will find exegetes of, for example, Surah 97, where it says that we sent it down during the night of decree, which we've explained here on the channel that is about Jesus, not about the Quran. But they would exegete that as the Quran being revealed directly to Muhammad. Of course, now we have other exegetes that says, no, the book was revealed from the upper heavens to the lower heavens, whatever. All nonsense, of course. But you will have some exegetes, you will see some so-called Islamic scholars, which would be disowned, I'll grant you that would say that Muhammad received the Quran all in one go, and then it was revealed slowly from his memory over a 23-year period. Okay, but you will have the thing that the Quran is given to him in one day, and also when he goes on the night journey. It's all very silly. Anyway, and why did I put here the 22 years and the 20 years? Because according to the Islamic traditions, when Muhammad was receiving revelations, and then Waraka died. And when that happened, then he stopped receiving revelations for a while. And there are different accounts as to how long it took for Muhammad to start receiving his revelations again. And the different opinions of it is between a couple of weeks all the way up to like 2 or 3 years. So there is even like a gap. Now the accepted, I think, period that Muslims will tell you is something like 6 months. They will tell you like, oh, he didn't receive revelations for, I think it's 6 months, the one that they normally say. Hence why the 22 years. But there were some other accounts even claiming years. Basically, as with everything when it comes to Islam, there are many multiple different accounts, and now the agreed period is 23 years. But they do say in their traditions that the revelations stopped for a while, and then everybody has an opinion as to what a while actually means. Mm? And also, for some reason, after Muhammad gets the poisoned in Khyber, you remember that one? Mohammed is in Khyber and he is getting this woman who says, I'm going to prepare food for you, and then gives him poisoned lamb. And then he goes and munches from the lamb until the lamb says, no, I'm poisoned. Stay away. Remember that one? Hmm? So at that point is when he starts to get sick. And then he's getting sicker and sicker for like a period of about 3 years. I'm yet to find anyone to actually explain what revelations he received during those 3 years. It's kind of like weird that I haven't been able to find it. Probably it's there. And if you have this information available, please let me know in the comment section below, so that other people can access it as well, and I can see that. But I would have thought that when Muhammad is giving revelations and he's being very, very ill because of after the poison, there will be accounts saying, oh, and Muhammad was giving this revelation and he was poisoned, so he was incredibly unwell and he was still receiving the revelation, and it was such a great effort. But I haven't found those. If you have them, please let me have them, because it will be an interesting read, I suppose. And I suppose the revelation from the sheep saying, don't eat me, I'm poisoned, I suppose that didn't make it into the Quran. I guess it's only the revelations from Jibril of the eternal tablets. And that other thing was just, I don't know, a magical sheep, I suppose. Anyway, so let's carry on. We are almost at the end. I hope you're doing well with all of these questions and answers. So, according to a hadith, how many times did Jibril choke Muhammad? Now, is it A, once? Is it B, twice? Is it C, 3 times? Or is it D, Jibril did not choke Muhammad, Muhammad choked Jibril? So, what do you think? And the answer is 3 times. 3 times is very good. Here we have it as well counted for you. In Daif Sahih al-Bukhari, we have Muhammad being choked 3 times because, as you know, everything in Islam is 3, but you cannot say 3 at the same time. There you have it. The 3 times. Let's read it for a bit. So the angel caught me forcefully and pressed me so hard that I could not bear it anymore. Okay, that was one. Then when he says that he cannot read, thereupon he caught me again and pressed me a second time till I could not bear it anymore. And then the same thing, he couldn't read, and again, thereupon he caught me for the third time and pressed me. Interesting. I didn't know that encountering an angel required something like this. It's kind of like weird. I mean, I've seen movies where they show angels and demons and stuff. I've never seen an angel choking someone. I don't know. Maybe I have seen the wrong types of movies. Okay, let's carry on. According to Islam, how old was Muhammad when he married Aisha? Well, not when he married her, when he, you know what. Okay, so let's go. Is it A, he was 23 years old? B, 33 years old? C, 43 years old? Or D, 53 years old? Now, this should be pretty much common knowledge. So let's go quickly to 3, 2, 1, 53 years old. I didn't even give you the source because it really is common knowledge. If you haven't heard this one before and you thought the answer was something else, oh my God, I don't think that you got a single answer correctly today. So you have a lot of research to do or a lot to unlearn and then to learn. So anyway, yeah, 53-year-old dude. And remember what we saw on the hadith when I was talking about the hair age and the dolls and stuff. All right. So now, according to Islam, how many wings does Jibril have? So, how many wings? Is it A, 1 wing? Is it B, 2? Is it C, 3? Or is it, oh, damn it. I knew there was a problem here. 1 second. I think I got the wrong slide. We're malfunctioning. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry about that. That was a bit of a technical problem. So now we're back with the correct question and answers. I thought there was something weird as I was actually reading them. And, you know, all of this takes a lot of work. So sometimes those things happen. So according to Islam, how many wings did Jibril have? Okay, so is it A, 2 wings? Is it B, 3 or 4? Is it C, 600? Or is it D, all of the above? So there you go. This should be an easy one as well for you if you've been reading a lot of the traditions and stuff. So which one is it? Maybe 3, 2, 1, and all of them, all of the above. This was a contradiction that people used to talk about quite a bit in the past to just show how the hadiths are absolute nonsense. And now they don't use it anymore, which is absolutely fine, you know. But this is basically what happens. So we have Da'if Sahih al-Bukhari saying that Gabriel has 600 wings, right? But when we go to the Quran, it says that angels have 2, 3, or 4. So this is something that Muslims can never explain, and they would have to go with, oh, well, angels, they have 2, 3, or 4 wings, but Jibril was different. It's like, but he's supposed to be the angel. So yeah, according to the Quran, angels have 2, 3, or 4. That's it. And then according to a hadith, he has 600. So you can be sure that Jibril has wings somewhere between 2 and 600, inclusive, right? Very nice. So hopefully I don't have any other problems like before. Let's see if it works until the end. We're very close to the end now. So according to Islam, what is the Injil? Ooh, A, no one knows. B, it's the 4 Gospels in the Bible. Or is it C? It's one of the heretical Gospels, one of the apocryphal Gospels. Or is it D? It's the whole of the New Testament. What do you think? I'll give you a few seconds to think about this one. According to Islam, what is the Injil? So let's go. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. No one knows. That's the thing. You would have heard all of these different explanations that everybody tries to give, and nothing makes any sense. Like, it was a magical, mystical book that was in Medina, but trust me, bro, it was lost. It's like, isn't it convenient? Don't you think that it's a bit convenient that the Quran keeps saying, this book confirms what came before it? And it's like, can we see what came before it? No, that is corrupt. It's like, but that doesn't make any sense. Don't you actually realize that when the Quran is saying that the book confirms what came before it, it's talking about the Bible, by the way? It's saying the Bible, or rather the New Testament, confirms the Old Testament. That's why the Christians had the Old Testament and the New Testament together, right? Every time the Quran goes, yeah, it confirms what came before it. It's right there. It was actually describing the Bible. So I'm not saying that that is the Injil. I'm saying that when the Quran is talking in that manner about one book confirming what came before it, it's talking about the book in question will be the New Testament. And what came before it would be what is actually right there. Hence why the Quran also says, if you are in doubt about what we have revealed to you, go to those who were reading the book before. It's like, yeah, that verse has nothing to do with Muhammad. They're addressing the crowd and saying, if you have a problem with us telling you that Jesus is the Messiah, go to the Jews and they will tell you, because they have the same scriptures as us, but they are just going to tell you that the interpretation is different. But you will see how what we are telling you, they are going to confirm it because they have it, they still have it, right? So that is the whole conversation. Now, when it comes to the Injil, it's a completely different game because the Quran has many different beliefs, or certainly it appears so within the Quran. So when it says that he was given the Injil, that's probably because of an apocryphal story. It has nothing to do with the reality on the ground. So no one knows what the Injil is. But if you think that you know what the Injil is, well, can you please let this gentleman know? Because he's been asking for a really long time, and all that he gets is nonsense. So if you think you know what the Injil is, please, please, please let God Logic know. So, and I think, let me just check, I think this is the very last question that we have for you. Yes, very, very final question, and a very easy one. So, according to the Quran, who was Jesus to Moses? So, A, Jesus was Moses' nephew, or is it Jesus was the father of Moses, or was his great grandson, or they have absolutely no relation? So, cast your answers and let's reveal this. Which you should know, if you've read the Quran, you've probably heard this one many times. And the answer is, of course, his nephew. The Quran says that Mary is the sister of Aaron. Of course, like we've explained before, you would have to go to the tafsirs and they're going to tell you, no, 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 that's not what it means. It means something else. Trust me, bro, because they have to make it divine. But if you are just judging the Quran as sola scriptura, the Quran is perfect. The Quran makes everything clear. The Quran needs no explanation, just like the Quran says about itself. Then, fair enough. We take the Quran and what it says is what it says. And then it says, "O Mary, sister of Aaron." It's like, okay. So these people who wrote the book, they thought that Mary, Moses, and Aaron were there at the same time. Even John of Damascus made fun of this, about the ignorance that was actually being transmitted through this. So of course, you have to go to the tafsirs, you have to go to the hadiths, and they're going to tell you, no, that's not what the Quran says, let me tell you. And they will give you all of those explanations. But if you judge by the Quran alone, it's very clear Jesus and Moses were at the same time, which is beyond insanity, right? And that's it. So how did you do with this quiz? Did you get most of the answers right? Did you get just a few? I hope that you've done actually quite well. If you haven't, oh boy, maybe let me know in which areas you have actually failed, and maybe we need to bring some more stuff here on the channel to make your life easier and bring you up to speed. I hope that some of the things that we've seen today in this quiz has impacted you and you are going to go away thinking, wow, that was actually quite nice. I didn't know that. So I hope you've learned something. And if you are a Muslim, probably you will have said all of this is not what it says, despite of showing the sources and showing the Quran and this sort of things. But I wonder, so if you are a Muslim, did you know that Muhammad is only mentioned in the Quran by name 4 times? Did you know? Because when I've checked with Muslims, they didn't know. And I asked ChatGPT and Grok and stuff, like, can you estimate how many Muslims know that Muhammad is only mentioned 4 times? And the answers that I get from AI is like 5 to 10%, like at most. So if you're a Muslim watching this, according to what I have seen, you didn't know on balance of probability. What about the whole thing with the how many times was Muhammad choked by Jibril? This is not something that Muslims are being told. When I have asked Muslims what happened in the cave of Hira, what I get is that Gabriel appeared to Muhammad and told him to read. It's like, sure, can you explain a little bit more? Did anything else of importance happen? And Muslims just have no idea. It's not like, oh, they're embarrassed to say. It's like they have no idea. They haven't been told, and therefore they don't know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this show. Let me know if you like this sort of format, and if so, in the future, we can do other things like that, where you get to be as well involved and having some trick questions and this sort of thing. Or if you have absolutely hated this and you don't want to see any more quiz, because when you are watching the channel, you just want the information and you don't want to be thinking about answers and things like that. So I really hope that you found it at least fun a little bit, and I just wanted to do something a little bit different, because I've been reading too many tafsirs and I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. It's insane. Oh boy, the whole thing is beyond nonsense. So I had to do something a little bit fun to, try to hold on to my sanity. So anyway, thank you all for watching. This is a wrap. Thank you very much for your company. I hope that you have a lovely end of your week, and we will see you all soon. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
There is only one Quran, right? Every Quran in the world is the same. That's what you've been told. You have been told a lie!
Six
26 different Qurans!
There are 0 Dawa guys apparently left on the planet who are willing to defend Muhammad in a debate.
Everybody can go and read it. This is a book full of mistakes in Arabic, in the grammar, in the spelling, in the pronunciation.
Whoever wrote the Quran made an error because they didn't quite understand what was written in the 7th century in the Torah and the Injil.
Stay away from these translations. They are propaganda.
We know that stories about Muhammad were made up on an industrial scale.
What in the world is this Injil?